I'm Brandy Hawk, and today I'm going to show you one of my recipes that I do all the time. Sometimes when I'm doing these little cooking segments, I get nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got all these things to remember, and I'm never going to remember them all, and that kind of thing. But with this one, I feel at home because this is like my go-to. I make this all the time, and nobody can believe that this is dairy-free. And actually, I sometimes can't even believe it myself because it's so creamy and so good. And as far as I'm concerned now, with the Vitamix blender and the new substitutes and things that they have, and the techniques that I've learned, I have no need for dairy ever again, really. So if you are dairy intolerant or you have trouble, like some of my best friends are, please come sit with me and I will teach you how to eat dairy-like foods without having the dairy at all. So let's get started. This is one of my favorites because it's so easy. You barely even need a knife for this one. So we're going to make a lasagna, spinach lasagna, classic spinach lasagna. I actually was feeling very Italian today. I put on my red lipstick, so I hope you like it. My mother would tell me I look like a streetwalker, but hey, I'm feeling good. It makes me feel good, so I like it. I hope you do too. Anyway, so all I have here are some no-boil lasagna noodles, and you get them in any store whatsoever. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start by taking a baking dish. Now, I don't know how much you need to make. I usually don't have to cook for that many people, so I'm going to make it in a kind of a small pan. I have another reason for wanting it to be in a small pan also, is because, on all the cooking shows and everything, I'm always watching everybody put everything in the oven. Well, see, as you can see, an oven is very big, okay? So it takes a lot of energy to heat up that oven to like 400, 450 degrees. If I've started really cooking more in my toaster oven, because that way, if I just have a little bit to make, I can just put it in there. I'm not using a ton of energy. It's still the same temperature. We're just doing it in a smaller space. So even if I needed to fit 2 of these into my toaster oven, I could, because I got one of the big ones. So anyway, there's my rant about that. We want to save power is the point of that story. But basically, I'm going to take my noodles, and I'm just going to put a little bit of spaghetti sauce on the bottom. Watch, I should have had a spoon for this, but whatever. So I'm going to layer the bottom with some spaghetti sauce. I'm just going to make sure that it's nice and covered, because basically you need something to help to boil these. You need some moisture to be able to get to soak into them. So we're just going to put some spaghetti sauce on the bottom. And here's the thing you need to know about spaghetti sauces. They have a lot of sugar in them, generally. And especially the ones that everybody seems to like so much. I don't want to mention any names because I won't get sued. But you've got these brands that are very, very popular. And the reason that kids like them and the reason everybody likes them is because they're loaded with sugar. Okay? So that's something that you need to watch out for. What I try to do is look at the labels and pick a brand that, tomatoes are going to have natural sugar in them anyway. But you don't want a whole lot of added extra sugar. So you just want, ones that have maybe 5 grams, 6 grams of sugar. Because then we know that our flavor is coming from the natural things in there and not being loaded down by a bunch of processed sugar that really doesn't belong there. Okay, so anyway, I think this one was Classico. They've got really good low sugar recipes. They're all different combinations. This is a marinara. So anyway, but you can pick the one that you like, but just keep that in mind when you're buying spaghetti sauces. So I have that. I'm putting my noodle down in here. Now I need to crack this because I need to kind of fill it in. Now, if you read the box for these, it's going to tell you that they shouldn't overlap, don't overlap them and everything, but I promise you that you are not going to die if you overlap your noodles just a little bit. Okay, so when I first read it, I was like, oh, I'm going to mess up the recipe, but it's fine. Just leave a little space if you can, and if not, you can later. So now that I have this, our second layer is just going to get some spinach and just put it on top of there. Now, I used to fuss. I used to take the spinach beforehand and saute it and then add it into the lasagna and everything. You don't have to do that. You're just going to take some spinach. Now, what I do is I definitely like to just chop it a little bit. I don't know about you, but like when I was growing up, my Nana loved spinach and we had it all the time. But the big pieces of spinach, I remember almost choking to death a couple times when I was a kid because the pieces were just too big and they got stuck in my throat. So just give it a little chop so that doesn't happen, and it's also a little bit better because when you go to eat it, it just chews in your mouth better. So we don't need to do anything to this. Just put it on in there, and it looks like a big messy pile, but that's totally fine. good amount. Okay, then I'm going to do what is like against the law in cooking, but I'm actually going to take some garlic powder and I'm just going to put that over there. Everybody thinks that you need to, chop up your garlic and saute it and everything. I'm like, it's a lot of work. So let's just keep it simple. So I'm going to put a little bit of garlic powder, and as we always want with any sort of just plain green is salt. So I'm just taking a little bit of salt, just going over that. Don't need a ton. We just want to give it a little bit of a, keep it from being too bitter. So now that we have that, we're gonna make now what is like kind of key to this whole thing, and that is our Alfredo sauce. Now there are many different ways that you can make a dairy-free Alfredo sauce, but this one is one of the many versions that I do. I do many, many of them, and every day they taste a little bit different, and that's okay, because cooking does not have to be about being perfect. We want to get to the point where we can taste our food and just see what it needs at that moment. We don't have to know it before we do it. As we're doing it, taste it, we'll eventually get it, okay? So today, this sauce is going to be different than it was yesterday, but it's totally okay. We're going to get you the basics, and then you can run from there, okay? So I am going to use some slivered almonds that they're blanched, okay? Now there's a couple of reasons for this. You can use regular almonds. I do it all the time, the ones that have the skin on them still. But sometimes you have to like blend them a little bit more and they don't get quite as creamy. So if you're trying to impress somebody, if you're trying to put like something non-dairy over on somebody that you don't want them to know, you want to get it as silky and creamy as it can be. So if you don't have the skin on there, these are going to they're just going to blend nicer. They're going to blend and be more creamy. Now, usually for some recipes, and if you're talking to very advanced vegan chefs, they will say, oh, you have to soak your nuts for many hours so that obviously you soak them, it makes them softer, and then they blend more easily. So I don't always have time to do that, and half the time I forget anyway. If you think about it at night, put your nuts into like some water and soak them by the sink, and then that way when you go to blend them the next day, they'll be nice and soft. But if you forget about it, it's totally okay also. Okay, so I did not soak my nuts, but they're gonna work, I promise. So I'm just gonna put in, I guess about like, I don't know, 3/4 of a cup, something like that. It's very intuitive. You just gotta put it in. It depends what you're making, for how much you're gonna need anyway. So, oh, I forgot my piece of garlic. And then I'm gonna take a piece of real garlic, not garlic powder. And I'm just going to take, maybe for this I want about 1/4 of a clove. All right, the worst thing you can do is put too much and then you're just like walking around vampire killing the whole day. But, and with that taste in your mouth. But if you just put a little bit, start small, put about 1/4 of a clove, and then you can grow from there. So, we have the nuts, we have the garlic. Then we got to give it zing, okay? So that's our lemon. We're going to put juice of a half of a lemon. And what's great about the Vitamix is that if the seeds fall in there, you don't need to worry about it because it's going to eat them and going to blend them right on in there, so don't need to worry about it. Ooh, but you don't want the peel. All right, so that's going to give us some zing. Very important, salt. Throw a couple pinches of salt in there. Large pinches. You can always add more. Then I'm going to take what I started to add. When I first started making this, I didn't use this, but I've started to add my mystery ingredient, and that is miso. Now this is the mellow miso. So what is miso? Miso is a fermented soy paste. Now for most people, and especially like, most places in America, we don't have this and we don't know what it is. But I will tell you that now, because of the way the recipes are changing these days, it is available in most supermarkets, just like my regular local supermarket has it. I didn't have to go anywhere special for this. But basically, it's a fermented soy paste. Now, the fermentation in this product is what's going to give it that sort of like Parmesan-y cheese taste, because that's what Parmesan cheese, it's why it tastes that way anyway. It's aged, it's fermented, like it has a fermenting process that it goes through. So it's going to give it that like cheesy kind of taste and that fermented kind of taste. So you also don't want a ton of this, but what's this, a half teaspoon? Something like that. So we're going to put that in there. It just adds another dimension of flavor. garlic, salt, lemon juice, miso. Okay, so now we just need to put something in it so we can blend it. And I'm just using regular plain old almond milk. If you don't have almond milk, you can use water. And actually, most of the time, I really don't use the whole thing of almond milk. I want to give it a little bit of creaminess with this, but then I'm just going to add some water. Now, the thing to know about blending almonds is that when you start to blend them, they get really thick. So that's why I have to make sure I have enough liquid in there. Because when I start to do this, you'll see it. It'll get really thick, and if you have too much, it kind of just gets thick. In that case, you just add some more add some more almond milk or some more water, and you just keep it going. And then if you get it too liquid, you just add some more almonds. And that's what I mean. It's just it's a matter of balancing. But this is pretty much the way it should look when you put it in your blender. Okay. Now, if you only have a regular blender, it's still going to work. It's just not going to be quite as smooth and creamy. That's why super high power blender is really kind of really better for these things. But if you don't have it, do your best. That's all we do is do our best. Okay. So just run it on your regular blender for a while. You just might do it a little bit longer. It's kind of creamy. It's not super watery, but it's not really, really thick either. Now, it's gonna seem like it is too watery to go into your lasagna, but it really isn't, because what happens is when you put this onto here and you bake it, the oven dries it out. So you want it to be a little bit runny in the beginning. It doesn't seem natural at first when you go to put it on, but it's gonna dry out when you bake it, okay? So let me just taste. Have to taste it first. Perfect. A lot of times I find I have to add more salt or more lemon, but today we're doing just great. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to pour it over my spinach. Okay, you just want to cover it like that. Then I'm going to take what I consider to be one of the greatest creations in the entire planet, and that is Daya. I'm actually showing this to you so that you can see the container. This is a vegan cheese. It's not soy-based, so that's why I like it, because it's mostly pea protein, and it stretches like a regular cheese, and it bakes up really nicely like a regular cheese. So, it's an easy substitute, but it is available in almost every supermarket now, so it's really easy to get. But this is they got a couple different flavors. This is the mozzarella. Now, the thing about Daya is that if you use too much of it, it has kind of a weird taste. So you want to really just have it in there. It's going to melt in there and give it mouthfeel. You really don't want to use too much. You don't want to load it on like you would a regular mozzarella. This is in here just to kind of smooth things out, make them a little bit creamier, and give you a little bit of mouthfeel. I don't want you to put enough that it's going to overwhelm the taste of the dish, because then you just start getting into a whole different thing. I've got a couple of friends that are hardcore vegans. They won't eat this because they used too much of it at one time, and it ruined the dish, and so they don't really like it so much anymore. But if you just use a little bit, it's awesome, okay? So then you're gonna layer that. Then I'm gonna take a little bit more of the spaghetti sauce. Put that on there. Just kind of spread it through. Again, it's okay to have a lot of moisture on here, because the nuts are going to dry out while they bake, and then also we have to have enough to account for our noodles. So don't worry if it seems a little bit runny. Okay, then we are just going to then we're just going to repeat the process all over again. how on this top layer, after you've layered everything on there, you want to have a layer of noodle, and then you want to generously cover it with spaghetti sauce, okay? Because if not, it's going to be too dry. You need to have enough moisture for the noodle to bake. And then you can just give it a nice little sprinkling of the daya, not too much, and that's going to melt nicely on top, okay? So now I'm just going to preheat my toaster oven to 400. I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil and pop it in, okay? So I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, so our lasagna is done. Be careful when you take this off. Oh, yummy. See how it's all gooey and how that cheese has melted? It's awesome. Alrighty. So you can see how ooey and gooey it is. Oh, it's going over the side. So all you need to do is just put a little parsley on top of there, serve it to your friends, and they're never going to know that this is non-dairy, I promise. Now you're aware, so go and share.